Outlaw Sports is brought to you by Molson Canadian, made from Canada, and Rocky Mountain Barbecue, Alberta barbecue cuisine at its best.
Ian Busby of the Calgary Sun joins us. First thing up, Calgary Stampeders' big win over Montreal. We said it was the game of the year so far, and I don't think it disappointed too many people. Interesting to see what took place on this one. First thing I wanted to talk about in this game was Nik Lewis and the way he can get that ball and produce the yak yards that he does. And playing against Marcus Dell, I don't think Marcus Dell wants to see Nik Lewis ever again, suffering a knee injury from their run-in this year.
Yeah, that was just strictly a tough tackle. Nik Lewis didn't try to hurt him. He just brought him down so hard with such force that the knee buckled underneath him, and it's tough to see. Kenyon Rambo obviously saw that play, went right over there and thought, that might be a torn ACL, that might be a bad news for Marcus Dell's career. If he comes back, I don't think he'll want to be faced up against Nik Lewis anytime soon. Everybody remembers the time he got run over last year by Nik Lewis en route to the end zone, but a year previous to that, they had some big hits against each other, and Marcus Dell got the better of Nik that day. It hasn't happened since then. It's interesting the way that Nik was very enthusiastic about the game and how he played, but he was very, I would say, sorry to hear that Marcus Dell got hurt and that it might be a devastating blow to his career. He thinks Marcus Dell's a good player, and he is a good player, and it's tough for the Alouettes.
Let's talk about these yak yards, because honestly, when this guy gets the ball, and I've always said this to people, you can't really determine how Nik plays by just watching him catch the ball.
Right.
You have to watch how he blocks, how he'll sacrifice his body, but it's when he gets the ball, what he does with it, that's so impressive.
The thing is this year is he's healthy, and that's made a big impact because he's able to fight. And you can see that one guy hits him, doesn't happen. He'll make sure he gets the first down yardage before he goes down. And the interesting thing about when Dwight Anderson hits him and knocks him down, Nik said, well, I was just protecting the ball. We had the first down. That's all I needed to do was go down. And of course, Dwight Anderson gets up and pretends that, well, you're going to need the trainer for Nik Lewis. Yeah, right. that hit wasn't going to need the trainer for Nik Lewis. There was no possible way. He leads the league in yak yards again, and as I said last week on the show, I think he's the MOP of the West Division at this point in time.
I was going to ask you about the rivalry between Anderson and him. That was some of the funniest, that mock dance of his impersonating him after he stops him on a first down. And first of all, why do you make a big deal out of stopping someone when they made a first down? I mean, but what Nik did there was pure comedy.
Oh, it was gorgeous. It was
Yeah.
the play of the game, and I don't think it would have been as impactful if Dwight Anderson hadn't played on this team the last few years. These guys know each other, so it's very much a lighthearted thing. They weren't upset about it afterwards. Even Dwight Anderson said, "Oh, that's Nik. He's going to do that. That was fun. We had some fun out there." Except for Dwight was a little disappointed that he lost the game.
Sure.
But it was a huge play that could have turned the tide there, though, was Dwight Anderson almost pulled the ball out. Well, he did pull the ball out of Nik Lewis's hands.
He was out of bounds.
Not enough to get the ball on a possession, and then his calf cramped up and he had to come off the field, and then they scored on that subsequent drive. So pretty close to having a big play there, and that would have changed things a little bit because the Stamps wouldn't have gotten the chance to score a touchdown on that drive.
Well, another big performance by Raymond, who I think is, you really have to look at him as far as the West most valuable player on defense anyhow.
Yeah.
I mean, Odell Willis down the east to me has my vote.
Well,
And could be the whole for the whole league. But anyhow, another big game with him, that clutch interception, which it just seemed like Richardson and the quarterback was just way off, and
Right.
and Anthony Cavillo doesn't make that kind of mistake very often, but for some reason, there it was. Raymond picks it up.
Yeah. It was a weird play in that, well, it was S.J. Green.
Oh, pardon me. Okay.
It's easy to mix those two up. They look exactly the same. Green sort of made a couple of stutter step moves, sort of fooled Raymond and got open, but when he made the move to break inside, it looked like Anthony, that's when he released the ball and threw it inside. Raymond went inside and had the easy pick. Just a very rare miscalculation on Anthony Calvillo's part. We don't see that very often, but obviously it benefited the Stamps quite well. And it's one of those things where in a game like that, you don't expect a defensive play to decide it because it was so much offensive efficiency, but the Stamps got the defensive play and managed to get the win out of it.
The Twin Towers from Montreal confuse me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've asked them a couple of times, don't you guys get this all the time? And SJ Green says, we watch film and we have to make sure, who was that?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, okay, that's you, that's me. They look exactly the same and they play exactly the same. If you could clone anybody in the league, you would want to clone Jamel Richardson. He's that good.
Well, I think he's Alan Pitts reincarnated, man. I really do, because I look at the way he walks. I've heard some interviews with him, and the way he catches the ball, the look, the run, the catch, everything. That looks like Alan Pitts.
And if he had started as a number 1 receiver earlier, he might have a chance to get those yardages and touchdowns, because he's a touchdown machine right now.
Can utility be a poster? Can utility keep you up at night, dreaming? Can utility put thoughts in your head? Depends on what you mean by utility. Introducing the new Porsche Cayenne and Cayenne S Hybrid. Lighter, more agile, more efficient. More Porsche than ever.